The first time my neighbor fell into my arms, she was 12 feet up in an old oak tree with a pair of chicken scissors in her hand. I was in my workshop sanding a board of cedar when I saw it. Out the back window, just past my fence and right where the massive white oak spreads its branches, a single high heel dangled from the bark, a thin, shiny Italian stiletto hanging off a branch that had been there for 300 years. My property line ends where that oak begins. The tree has outlived storms, power lines, and 3 generations of homeowners. Most days I only see squirrels in it. That afternoon, I saw legs, long, bare legs, a black pencil skirt, and the slow losing battle between gravity and pride. I stopped the sander and wiped sawdust on my jeans. The sharp smell of fresh wood stuck in my nose as I walked out the back door and into the cool Oregon air. Late September, in our part of the Pacific Northwest, is that perfect mix of gold light and crisp wind. I followed the curve of my fence until I was under the tree. From the ground, I could see the situation clearly. My neighbor Sophia was crouched on a thick branch, one heel still on her foot, the other shoe hanging. Her dark hair was half falling out of what had been a tight bun. In one hand she held onto the bark, in the other she clutched a pair of kitchen shears like a weapon. I leaned my shoulder against the trunk and kept my voice calm. "You know," I said, "the ladder was invented a long time ago. People still use it. Works pretty well." Leaves rustled hard. There was a soft gasp, and then her face appeared through the foliage, pale and very annoyed. "I do not own a ladder," she hissed. Her voice was sharp, the kind of voice that usually moves people around a boardroom table. "And I do not need an audience." "You might not need an audience," I said, "but you definitely need gravity on your side. Right now it's trying to kill you." "I'm fine," she shot back. "I'm just assessing." "Assessing the structural integrity of a 2-inch branch," I said, pointing up. "You are a lawyer, right? Liability is your thing. If you fall, you break an ankle. If you fall on my fence, you break my fence. I built that fence. I would be very upset." She glared down at me. Her knuckles were white on the bark. The pencil skirt had ridden up her thighs. Her whole body was tense. "The HOA sent a notice," she said. "Mrs. Gable claims this limb is a visual nuisance and blocks the view. I came up here to cut it." Quote. I looked at the tool in her hand. Not pruning shears, not even a saw, poultry shears. Fancy ones, sure, but still just kitchen scissors. "Those are for chickens," I said, "not heritage oak." "They are high-quality shears," she muttered, but her voice shook. As if to make my point for me, the branch under her shifted. She froze. I saw real fear flash across her face. "Okay," I said, pushing off the trunk and stepping right under her. I planted my boots in the grass, bent my knees, and lifted my arms. "Drop the scissors." "What?" Quote. "Drop them. If you jump with those, one of us is getting stabbed." She hesitated, then let them fall. They landed in the grass beside me with a dull thud. "Now," I said, looking up into her wide, dark eyes, "I want you to slide off the branch. I'm going to catch you." "I'm not jumping," she said. Her voice went higher. "I am a senior partner at—" "You are a woman stuck in a tree, Sophia," I cut in. "And I'm the guy who lifts oak beams for a living. I have got you. Trust the physics." She stared down at me. The usual hard, controlled look on her face kept slipping, replaced by pure panic. Her chest rose and fell in quick, shallow breaths. "If you drop me," she said, "I will sue you for everything you own." "I own a lot of sawdust," I said. "Come on." She scooted forward, her skirt hitching up, her dignity breaking by inches. Then she closed her eyes and let go. She did not float. She dropped like a rock, but I was ready. The impact hit my chest hard. My arms locked around her waist and thighs. I took one step back to steady us, boots digging into the turf, but I held her. For a moment, everything stopped. She was solid and warm in my arms, her face pressed into my neck. I could feel her breath against my collarbone, hot and uneven. Her heart pounded so hard I could feel it through both our shirts. Her perfume was soft and expensive, flowers mixed with the rough smell of bark and leaves. "I gotcha," I said quietly. She pulled back a little, hands still on my biceps, fingers curling into the muscle as she found her balance. Her eyes searched my face, wide and dark, her cheeks flushed. "You caught me," she whispered like that was the surprising part. "I told you I would." Quote. She blinked, and I watched the cool, professional mask slide back into place. She slipped out of my arms fast, smoothing her skirt, pushing hair back, putting herself back together. She grabbed her fallen heel from the grass and shoved it on. "Thank you," she said, stiff now. "That was unnecessary, but appreciated." "The notice," I said, not letting it go that easy. "The one from the HOA. "Mrs. Gable sent it today?" Quote. Sophia sighed. The fight dropped out of her shoulders. For the first time, she looked tired. "She says I have 48 hours to remove the offending limb, or she'll hire someone and bill me triple," she said. "I just did not have time to call anyone. I thought I could just snip it. It looked smaller from the ground." I looked up at the branch, strong, healthy, reaching out over the street like a slow, graceful arm. It was not dangerous. It was just wild. "Don't touch it," I said. "I have to," she argued. "She will fine me $5,000. "I mean, you do not touch it," I said. "You are a danger to yourself and to poultry shears." I walked over to the fence and studied the angle of the trunk, the spread of the roots, the line of our yards. "I will handle it," I said. "Excuse me, you are a—" She waved a hand at my dusty shirt. "Carpenter." "And I know trees," I said. "Give me the notice. I will talk to Gable." Sophia shook her head. "You do not just talk to Mrs. Gable. She eats souls for breakfast." "I will handle it," I repeated. She looked small, standing in the middle of that perfect lawn. Messy hair, bark on her skin, kitchen scissors on the ground. "Go inside," I said. "Take a shower. You have bark in your hair." Her hand went up to her bun. For a second she looked very young. "Okay," she said softly. The next morning I was loading my truck when she came out of her front door. The armor was back in place, navy suit, hair pulled so tight it shined, heels on, briefcase in hand. She marched across the grass and held out a check. "For your trouble," she said, "and for the consultation." I looked down. $500. "I did not even do anything yet," I said. "You caught me. You offered to help. I like things clear. Think of it as a retainer." Her fingers were pinched so tight on the check that the paper bent in the middle. Her wrist shook just a little. I did the only thing that made sense to me. I took the check from her hand, tore it in half, and gave the pieces back. "Sophia," I said, "I'm not your employee. I am your neighbor. I do not want your money." Quote. She stared at the torn check, confused and a little angry. "Then why are you helping me?" she asked. "Because gravity is not the only thing trying to pull you down," I said, "and I have some free time." I picked up my tape measure from the truck. "Thursday," she said slowly. "HOA meeting. 7 pages M. Community Center. She is going to bring up the tree." "I will be there," I said. I watched her walk back to her silver Audi. She paused before getting in, like she wanted to say something else. Then she drove off, leaving the old oak between us and a question hanging in the air. I already knew I wanted to answer. I keep my promises, especially the ones I make under a 300-year-old oak. The next 2 days, I did what I do best. I measured, checked, and dug for facts. When I was not in my workshop, I was at the county office, flipping through old maps and yellow files that smelled like dust and time. I found the original plans for our neighborhood. I found the old survey for Sophia's lot. Back home, I pushed aside 3 inches of pretty mulch at the base of the oak. Under it, I found the small metal marker that said where her land began. It was set right in the thick flare of the roots. The tree was not just on her property. It was part of the property. It had been there before the street, before the sidewalk, before the HOA ever existed. Wednesday afternoon, I saw Mrs. Gable walking her tiny poodle past Sophia's house. Clipboard in one hand, pen in the other, hunting for problems like always. She stopped in front of the oak and frowned up at the branch, lips tight. I wiped my hands on my shirt and walked out to the curb. "Mr. Jones," she said without looking at me, "your grass is getting long." "Good afternoon, Mrs. Gable," I said. "The oak tree is protected under the county rule for old trees on private lots." She blinked at me. "It is a nuisance. It drops acorns on the sidewalk." "It was dropping acorns before the sidewalk," I said. I took one slow step closer and lowered my voice so she had to lean in to hear. "If you force a cut and the tree gets sick and has to be removed, the HOA could be responsible for the full cost. A white oak this size is worth a lot, more than any of our cars." Her pen stopped moving. "That is ridiculous," she said, but I heard the doubt. "Sophia Cooper is a litigator," I added. "Do you really want to give her a reason to practice at home?" Quote. For the first time, I saw her pale. She snapped her notebook shut. "We will discuss it at the meeting," she said, and pulled her little dog away. That night, Sophia came home late. It was past 10, and her porch light was out. Rain misted the street. From my kitchen window, I watched her walk up the path, shoulders slumped, head down. She dropped her keys once, then again, fingers fumbling. I stepped out my back door, crossed the wet grass, and hopped the low fence. By the time I reached her porch, she was bending down for the keys a third time. I picked them up before she could. She jumped, hand flying to her chest. "Maverick?" she breathed. "You scared me." "Your porch light is out," I said, sliding the key into the lock for her. "Bulb is probably dead. I will put it on the list." "I have a list," she muttered, leaning against the doorframe. Her suit jacket was wrinkled. Her eyes looked like she had not slept in a week. "It has 400 things on it." "Go inside, Sophia," I said. She watched my hand as I turned the key. When I gave her the keys back, her fingers brushed mine. Her skin was cold. Mine was warm. She did not pull away. She stared at our hands like there was something she did not understand. "Did you see the tree?" she asked in a small voice. "I saw it," I said. "I saw Gable too." "And you need to sleep," I said. "I will handle it." "Why are you doing this?" she whispered. "Why do you care?" Quote. I held her gaze. "Because you are tired," I said, "and I am not." She swallowed, like that answer hit somewhere deep. Then she nodded once and stepped inside. The door closed with a soft click. Thursday night, the community center basement smelled like weak coffee and old carpet. Folding chairs were lined up in rows. A long plastic table held the 5 members of the HOA board. Mrs. Gable sat in the middle like a judge. Sophia sat beside me in the second row. Her back was straight. Her hair was tight again. She had a file in her lap with colored tabs and notes. I could see how badly she wanted to fight. "Item 4, Mrs. Gable said. "The Cooper nuisance tree." Sophia sucked in a sharp breath and started to stand. I put my hand on her forearm, just a light touch. Her skin was cool through the sleeve. She looked at me, startled. "Let me," I murmured. She was used to standing in front of rooms like this for other people. She was not used to anyone stepping up for her. For a second, she just stared. Then she slowly sat back down. I stood. "This is the limb in question," I said, laying a big rolled paper on the table and opening it. I had drawn the branch, the trunk, the angle, the nearby houses. I inspected it with a harness and line. The wood is solid. No rot, no bugs, no cracks. The way it bends is normal for a tree that has learned to deal with wind. If you cut this branch, you make the whole tree less stable. Mrs. Gable frowned. A few board members leaned closer to the drawing. "I also installed a support cable today between this limb and another one higher in the crown," I added, tapping the diagram. "You cannot see it from the street, but it takes some of the load. The branch will not sag more. It is safe." "You installed something without board approval?" Mrs. Gable snapped. "It is not a structure. It is like a belt on a pair of pants," I said. "You do not need a permit to give a tree a belt." A couple of people chuckled. Even one board member tried not to smile. "If you ask to have this branch cut anyway," I went on, "and the cut causes damage later, there is a risk. To the tree, to nearby property, to the HOA. I have the county tree rule here if you want to read it." Silence spread across the room. No one wanted to sign their name to that. One of the board members cleared his throat. If the limb is safe and there is no rule that says it has to go, I move we table this, he said. We have other business. No one argued. The item was dropped, just like that. When the meeting ended, people filed out, talking about parking and paint colors and a broken swing at the park. We stepped outside into cool, sweet night air. The sky was clear. You could see the tops of the trees against the stars. Sophia walked with me toward the parking lot, heels clicking on the pavement. At her car, she stopped and turned. You climbed the tree, she said, staring at me. Yeah, I said. You put a cable in it. Yeah. When? She asked. While I was at work? Yes, I said. She shook her head like she could not quite believe it. I had a whole speech ready, she said. I was going to bring up rules and rights and file threats. I know, I said, but sometimes you do not need a fight. You just need a good cable. She let out a long breath. I watched her shoulders drop an inch, then another, the weight sliding off. I do not know how to thank you, she said quietly. Dinner, I said. She froze. Excuse me? Dinner, I repeated. Saturday, my place. I make a decent steak. Her walls flew back up fast. I do not date neighbors, she said. It is messy. We are not dating, I lied. We are celebrating the win. Tree versus rules. The tree won. It deserves steak. The corner of her mouth twitched. It was the first real smile I had seen on her face. For the tree, she said at last. For the tree. I agreed. As she drove off, I looked at the outline of the big oak against the streetlights. The branch was still there, safe and strong. Saturday was coming. The dinner was for the tree, but my heart already knew better. Friday gave us a break from the gray. The sky over Oregon turned clear and blue. The oak tree looked like a painting against the light. I was in my yard checking the tension on the cable I'd put in the tree when I saw movement up in the branches. I stepped back and squinted. Sophia was in the oak again. Not high this time. She had found a lower branch that stretched out over her lawn, maybe 7 feet off the ground. She sat sideways on it, one hand on the bark, bare legs swinging. She wore a white tank top, a black skirt, no shoes. Her hair was down around her face, softer than I had ever seen it. I walked under the branch, wiping my hands on my gray t-shirt. You realize you are starting a pattern, I called up. She looked down and smiled like she had been waiting. You realize you have a rescue complex, she said. I am only here because I respect old trees, I said. Liar, she answered, but there was no heat in it. She shifted her weight, giving the branch a small bounce on purpose. Instinct made my hand lift, ready to catch even though she was not falling. Her eyes followed the movement, then came back to my face. A small breath left her chest, half laugh, half nerves. Jump, I said, my voice steady. I will catch you. Her smile changed. It softened and turned serious at the same time. Maybe falling for you is not bad, she said. She did not jump. She turned and slid forward instead, until she was hanging by her hands. She looked down at me like she was deciding if I was real. I stepped closer and lifted my arms. She let go. I caught her without a hard impact this time, hands firm around her waist. Her feet brushed my thighs, then found the ground. She did not move away right away. Her hands landed on my shoulders. We were close enough that I could see the gold flecks in her brown eyes. Still got you, I said. I noticed, she said softly. She leaned back just enough to look up at me. Her chin tipped the slightest bit, like a small, quiet yes. I did not kiss her. Not yet. I set her on her feet and stepped back, letting my hand rest at her waist one extra second before I let go. Her eyes followed my hand as it dropped like she felt the loss. Saturday, she said, clearing her throat. For the tree. For the tree, I agreed. Saturday came with rain. A steady Oregon drizzle tapped on my windows. I cleaned the house anyway. Not just the usual. I wiped down surfaces, put tools away, folded blankets. I wanted it to feel calm when she walked in, like the way a finished table feels under your hand. At 7 on the dot, there was a knock. I opened the door. Sophia stood there, with her hair down and damp at the ends from the rain. She wore jeans and a soft sweater, no suit, no heels. She held a bottle of red wine like a peace offering. "I did not know what you drink," she said. "Red is perfect," I said, stepping aside to let her in. "My place is mostly wood. Wood floors I sanded myself. Cabinets I built. A big dining table made from a live-edge slab of walnut." She walked slowly, fingers trailing along the back of a chair. "You made this," she said. "Yes." Quote, "It feels alive," she said. "Wood is always moving," I told her as I opened the wine. "It breathes, it moves with the seasons. If you try to force it to stay still, it cracks." She looked at me over the rim of the glass when I handed it to her. "Is that a metaphor?" she asked. "Maybe," I said. We ate at the kitchen island. I made steak, roasted potatoes, and a simple salad. At first, the talk was work and small things. The HOA. The tree. Weather. But as the food disappeared and the wine bottle emptied, her shoulders relaxed. Her voice softened. "I wanted to be an architect," she said finally, turning her glass slowly. "In college. I loved buildings. I loved plans. But my father said there is no money in art. So I went to law school. Now I build arguments instead of houses." "Arguments are structures," I said. "You have a foundation. You have points that hold weight." "It is not the same," she said. "At the end of a case, I have a stack of paper. At the end of your day, you have this." She gestured to the room. "Come see the shop," I said. "Now?" she asked. "Now," I said. We went out the back door under the covered walk to the detached garage. I had turned it into my workshop. The smell of sawdust and oil hung in the air. I flipped on the lights. Tools lined the walls. A half-finished mid-century chair sat on the bench, clamps holding its frame. "This is my chaos," I said. She walked slowly around the room, touching things lightly. A level, a plane, a brush. She picked up a sharp chisel, feeling the weight. "Careful," I said, moving closer. "It is sharp." "I know," she said. "My grandfather had tools like this. He never let me touch them." "You can touch anything here," I said. The air shifted. It felt heavier, charged. She turned around with the chisel still in her hand. I was close now, close enough to feel the warmth from her skin, close enough to see the small pulse in her throat. She looked up at me, eyes dark and open. Her lips parted just a little. It felt like another jump moment. "Sophia," I said. My voice came out rough. "Maverick," she said back. I wanted to kiss her. I wanted to press her against the workbench and forget everything else. But I remembered her in the tree with scissors, too proud to ask for help. She was still learning how to trust a safety net, so I reached for the chisel instead. I took it gently from her hand and set it on the bench. Then I took her hand in both of mine. Her fingers were ice cold. "You are freezing," I said. "I am always cold," she said. "I can fix that," I said. I rubbed her hands between mine, slow and steady. Her skin warmed. She watched our hands like the movement itself was a secret. Her breath hitched. It was somehow more intimate than a kiss. "You fix everything, do you?" she whispered. "I try," I said. She stepped in an inch. Her chin lifted a little. It was there. The opening. The yes. I started to lean in. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. The spell snapped. She pulled her hands away and fumbled for the phone, already pulling the armor back around herself. "It is the firm," she said, looking at the screen. Her face shut down. "I have to take this. I am sorry." "It is Saturday night," I said quietly. "It is a partner track case," she said. "I cannot ignore it. I have to go." Quote. She backed toward the door like the workshop had become dangerous. The warmth was gone. The distance was back. "Sophia," I started. "I am sorry," she repeated. "Thank you for dinner. It was perfect." Then she turned and ran out into the rain, across the yard, back to the house where every light was on. I stood in the doorway, watching her go, her figure blurred by the drizzle. I could still feel the cold shape of her hands in mine. The shift came 2 weeks later. I saw her car come and go, Silverado in, Silverado out. We did not talk. No texts. No knocks. She was avoiding me. I let her. You cannot force wood to move faster than it wants. It will crack. One gray afternoon, I pulled into my driveway and saw her sitting on her front steps in the rain. No coat. Just a blouse and pants already wet. She held a folded piece of paper in her hands and stared at the street like she was not really seeing it. I killed the engine and walked over. "Sophia," I said. She looked up, her eyes were red. Not from crying now, but from something that had been building a long time. "They are auditing the property line," she said. Her voice was flat. "Not the HOA, the city. Someone filed a complaint that my garage is 2 feet over the line. They want to tear it down." "What?" I sat down beside her on the wet step. "Who filed it?" Quote, "Anonymous," she said. "But it is Gable." She could not win with the tree, so she went for the garage. She crumpled the paper in her fist. "I cannot fight this, Maverick," she said. "I am drowning at work. I have a big case in Seattle. I cannot be here for the inspector. I cannot fight the city. I think I will just sell. Let them take it. I will move to a condo. No trees. No garage. No problems." "No," I said. She laughed once, a short, broken sound. "I do not have a choice," she said. "You have me," I said. I took the paper from her hand and smoothed it on my knee. I knew enough about old houses to see the problem and the answer. "This garage has been here since the 1950s, I said. "It is what they call a pre-existing non-conforming structure. It was legal when it was built. It gets to stay. They cannot touch it if no one changes it." "I do not have the energy to prove that," she said, standing up fast. Anger flashed. "Why do you keep doing this? Why do you care about my garage? Why do you care about me?" I stood up too. We were face to face in the soft rain. Water ran down her hair and onto her cheeks. "Because you are part of my view," I said, "and I like my view." She stared at me. Then a wet laugh broke out of her. "That is a terrible line," she said. "I am a carpenter, not a poet," I said. I stepped closer, blocking the wind with my body. I put my hands on her shoulders. They were shaking. "Give me the keys. Give me access to the basement. I will find the old permits. I will meet the inspector. You go to Seattle. You win your case. I will save your house." "You cannot promise that," she whispered. "I promise," I said. She looked at my chest, then up into my eyes. The flame went out of her like air from a balloon. She leaned forward until her forehead rested against my chest. It was a small, quiet surrender. "Okay," she said. "Okay." Quote. I wrapped my arms around her and held her tight. This time I did not pull back. This time I tilted her chin up with my hand. "May I?" I asked. She nodded. I kissed her in the rain, on the cracked front step, with the letter from the city still damp in my hand. It tasted like exhaustion and fear, and something new that felt a lot like hope. The next week was a blur of rain and paper. Sophia went to Seattle. I went to war with old records. Every morning I drove to the city building. I sat in a cold room downstairs, pulling out boxes of files and thin sheets of old film. The garage had been built in the 1950s. Somewhere there had to be proof. For 3 days I searched. I found wrong addresses, wrong dates, wrong names. Then, finally, I found it. The permit for Sophia's house and garage filed under the wrong street name. The ink was faded, but it was clear. The garage was legal when it went up. That meant it could stay. When the inspector came, I was ready. I set up a folding table in her driveway. I laid out the old plans, the permit, a simple drawing I had made of the lot lines. He walked around the garage with his clipboard. I walked with him, talking about distance from the line, old code versus new code, how the rules changed over time. We spoke the same language. Setbacks, loads, variance. In 20 minutes, he signed the paper that said the garage was safe. I took a picture of the signed form and texted it to Sophia. Garage is safe. Tree is safe. Come home. No reply came back. That night, her car did not return. The next night, nothing. On the third night, I saw the silver Audi in her driveway when I got home, but the blinds were shut. No light on the porch. No knock on my door. I gave her one full day. On Sunday, I walked over and rang the bell. She opened the door quickly, like she had been standing right there. She looked perfect. White silk blouse, hair smooth, makeup sharp. It was armor. I could see it now. "You saved the garage," she said. "Thank you. I will have my assistant send a gift basket." "A gift basket?" I repeated. I stepped into the doorway so she could not swing it shut. "Sophia, what is this?" Quote, "This is reality," she said. Her voice was hard, but her eyes would not meet mine. Seattle was clear. I sat in rooms with partners who make 7 figures. That is my world. That is where my life is going. You are a carpenter, Maverick, a very good one. But we live in different universes. We live 10 feet apart, I said. Our kitchens share a fence. That is geography, she said. I am talking about this. She motioned between us. I lean on you too much. That is dangerous for me. I cannot be weak. So this ends. The tree, the garage, the neighbor hero story. I do not need it. I do not need you. Her words hit like a nail gun to the chest, fast and deep. You think accepting help makes you weak, I said quietly. I think it makes you smart. I think when something starts to matter to you, you look for distance. Please go, she whispered. No, I said. She blinked. Excuse me. I am not going anywhere, I said. I am your neighbor. I am right there. I will be right there when you realize you are wrong. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small wooden box. I had sanded it smooth and added a simple brass hinge. I found this in your basement when I was looking for the permits, I said. It was broken. She stared at it like she was looking at a ghost. Her hands shook when she took it from me. She opened the lid. Soft music filled the doorway. The tiny ballerina inside turned in a slow circle. The tune was old and sweet. I had cleaned the gears, oiled the spring, fixed the crack. The sound was clear. My mother gave me this, she said. Her voice broke on the word mother. I know, I said. Her name is written under the lid. To Sophia. Tears filled her eyes. She did not let them fall. She just stood there, holding the box, like it was the last safe thing in the world. You do not have to be strong all the time, I said. You just have to be happy. I stepped back off the porch. I will see you around, I said. I walked away without looking back, but I could feel her standing there in the doorway, music playing, watching me go. The fall festival came 2 weeks later. It was the big event for our neighborhood. Kids in jackets, strings of lights, the smell of sugar and damp leaves. I was in charge of the bonfire. I stacked the wood in a slow, careful pyramid in the open lot near the park. The oak tree in Sophia's yard rose behind the houses like a dark crown against the sky. Of course, Mrs. Gable was there with her clipboard. She marched over, eyes fixed on my fire. Mr. Jones, she said, this stack is 3 inches above the allowed height for a recreational fire. I opened my mouth to answer. Before I could speak, someone stepped between us. Sophia. She wore jeans and a thick sweater, not a suit. Her hair was loose around her shoulders. Her cheeks were pink from the cold. She looked like herself, not her job. I played the music box. She said softly to me, just loud enough for me to hear. Every night, for a week. Does it sound okay? I asked. It sounds perfect, she said. Then she turned to face Mrs. Gable. When she spoke, her voice carried clear over the chatter around us. Actually, under Section 5.2, Sophia said, fires for community events have a higher allowed height, and since Maverick is the safety officer tonight, his judgment on the stack is the one that counts. Mrs. Gable's mouth opened and closed twice. Will I also? We are running the cider station next, Sophia said smoothly. Maverick and I, we made it together. We would love for you to stop by. While she said it, she slid her hand into mine. Her fingers wove between my fingers and squeezed. Warm, firm, public. We, Mrs. Gable repeated, eyeing our joined hands. Yes, Sophia said. She looked up at me and smiled. Not the tight, polite smile she gave in boardrooms. The real one. The one from the tree, but without fear. We. Mrs. Gable had no response for that. She backed away, mumbling something about napkins. Sophia turned back to me. The firelight danced on her face. I was wrong about being weak, she said. I spend all day fighting. For clients. For the firm. Against people like her. When I am with you, I do not have to fight. I can rest. Rest is good, I said. I do not want to send you a gift basket, she said. I want to stack wood with you. I want to pour cider with you. I want to come home and see your truck in the driveway and feel my shoulders drop. She bent down and picked up a heavy log. It looked almost too big for her, but she lifted it and set it on the pile. A little awkward, but strong. Good placement, I said. I had a good teacher, she said. We stood side by side for a moment, watching the fire catch. Sparks floated up into the night, drifting toward the dark shape of the oak at the edge of the neighborhood. I am ready to jump now, she whispered so only I could hear. I already caught you, I said. I turned and kissed her in front of the fire, in front of the neighbors, in front of the woman with the clipboard. She kissed me back with both hands fisted in my shirt, like she finally believed I would not let her fall. Behind us, the old oak stood solid and strong, cable holding the limb in place, roots wrapped around the line that marked her land and mine. Somewhere under that canopy there was a garage that got to stay, a music box that played again, and a woman who had finally let someone stand between her and the storm. Sophia was not saved by some magic speech. She was saved by proof on paper, by a cable in a tree, by permits and steady hands, and by a man who showed up again and again without asking for anything in return. I did not try to make her world smaller. I just made space for her to breathe inside it. The real green flags were simple. I kept my word. I held my own boundaries. I stood between her and the pressure when it counted. And when it was her turn, she did not hide. She took my hand in public, backed me up in front of everyone, and chose the kind of love that feels like rest. If you are listening to this and it hit home, stay with me. There are more quiet, solid love stories where strong men show up, trees stay standing, and falling for someone turns out to be the safest jump you can take. Thanks for listening.